All right, so we're ready for lesson 4, proving and ruling a journal. So we're going to prove and rule a journal, demonstrate how to prove cash, and identify and correct errors using standard accounting practices. Okay, so when you prove and rule a journal page, you add each of the amount columns. There we have general column, sales column, cash credit column, or cash debit and credit columns. You're going to add each one of those up. Okay, and then you're going to add the debit totals and then the credit totals. And then when you do that, they should be equal. Okay, that's how to prove that you've got everything in the right, well, you've equalized everything. Hopefully everything is in the right place. Okay, it looks like this. You won't have to put any lines. The lines will be there for you. But this is just to tell you how they go about it. So when you're ready to make totals, you put a single line across, all the way across. You would write the date. This is like you get at the bottom of your journal page and you have no more room on your journal page. You have to go to a new page. Okay, we haven't completed the month yet, but we're going to continue with more transactions for the month on a new page. So you have to total everything at the bottom of the page. You're going to put the date of the last transaction or the date that you carried forward. Write carried forward in the account title column. Place a check mark in the post reference column. Then you're going to write each column total below the single line. Okay, and then double lines would get ruled at the end. That's just saying you have a total there. Indicate that the amounts are totals and the sum of the debit totals equals the sum of the credit totals. Okay, then you're going to start a new journal page. Write the page number at the top of the journal page. This is page 2. Write the date in the date column, so the date that you bring it forward. Here again, you're at the top of your page, so you're going to have to start with the month again. You can't just start with 23. You're going to write brought forward in the account title. So carried forward at the bottom, brought forward at the top of the page. And then a check mark in the post reference column. Record the column totals that are brought forward from the previous page. So you're just going to record all those totals across in their appropriate columns. Proving and ruling a journal at the end of the month. Okay, so you get to the end of the month. This is January, so end of January. January has 31 days.
Greetings, Emmy.
Speak. Rule a single line to indicate the columns are to be totaled. Write the date in the date column. So here we'd write 31 because it's January 31. We're going to write totals in the account title column. And then total up each column and write that below the single line. And then we're going to again rule double lines to indicate that the amounts are totals and that the sum of the debit totals equals the sum of the credit totals. Okay, and they're just showing how they equaled here, how each one were added up. Debit column and the credit columns. All right, then once you get your totals for the month, you're going to prove cash. That is determining that the amount of cash agrees with the accounting records. Okay, so this is how we're going to prove cash. We're going to start with the cash on hand at the beginning of the month. So this was the start of the business, so we didn't have any cash on hand at the beginning of the month. We're going to add the total cash received during the month. That equals that. And then we're going to subtract the total cash paid during the month. Okay, and then we have final cash balance at the end of the month. Okay, so this is just saying we made a total here. Then we're going to verify that the cash balance equals the checkbook balance on the next unused check stub in the checkbook. So here they equal. If they don't, you've made a mistake somewhere. All right, so this is looking at errors when errors happen in journal entries. If an error is recorded, cancel the error by neatly drawing a line through the incorrect item. Write the correct item immediately above the canceled item. So that would be this one here. Looks like it should have been 4,500. So they only put 450, so they crossed it out and put 4,500 above. Number 2 is sometimes an entire entry is incorrect and is discovered before the next entry is journalized. Draw neat lines through all parts of the incorrect entry. Journalize the entry correctly on the next blank line. Okay, so everything was wrong on this transaction. So right below it, they just made the correcting error or correcting entry. Number 3, sometimes several correct entries are recorded after an incorrect entry is made. The next blank lines are several entries later. Draw neat lines through all incorrect parts of the entry. Record the correct items on the same lines as the incorrect items directly above the canceled parts. Okay, so this number 3 here should have been miscellaneous expense. So they just cross that out and put that there. All right, list the 3 steps for proving a journal. So we get to the bottom of the page or end of the month. How do we prove a journal?
First, you add each of the amount columns, then you add debit column totals and the credit column totals, and then you verify that the total debits and total credits are equal.
Okay. Add each of the amount columns, add the debit column totals, and add the credit column totals, and verify that those totals are equal. State the formula for proving cash. Logan.
Total cash made during the month.
Okay, you're close, but you forgot the beginning balance. Okay, start with the beginning balance of the cash on hand. Okay. Well, it's not always going to be 0. Okay. In this case, it's 0. But you get to the next month, it's not going to be 0. Okay. So cash on hand at the beginning of the month plus total cash received during the month minus total cash paid during the month equals the cash balance at the end of the month. And the 5 steps to rule a journal at the end of a month. Anybody want to attempt that?
This is the line.
Uh-huh.
So I gave you guys part of it. Single rule and a double.
You got a single rule and a double rule.
You gotta total them all up.
What comes first? Single rule,
Yeah,
and then
single
what?
Rule, then the total, all totals, and then the double rule. And then you gotta put like final or whatever it is. Carry forward, and then a check at the bottom.
Okay, let's see how close you got. Okay, rule a single line across all amount columns directly below the last entry to indicate that columns are to be totaled. On the next line, write the date in the date column. Write carried forward in the account title. Place a check mark in the post reference column. Write each column total, and then rule double lines below the column totals. You were close.
You just missed the date.
All right.